Hey everybody, welcome tonight. We are at Immune Table Talk, and tonight we're talking to teachers. And we have two people in the teaching profession who've finished our program recently, some not so recently, one of you not so recently. And I just want to do a quick introduction to the two of you graduates from our program, but I'm curious, just like the rest of our audience is how are teachers coping with all the online education that's supposed to be starting right now, and where things are at. So the whole point of the Immune Table Talk is to actually have a casual conversation that I normally would have anyway and just share it with people in our audience. So without further ado, by the way, those of you that haven't met me, I'm Dr. Maggie Yu, Functional and Holistic Medicine MD, and our Facebook group, if you haven't joined it, is Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. Join it to catch our live Immune Table Talks so you can interact with us. Here are two graduates. Let's start with you, Barb, and then we'll go to Kim.
Hey, how are you, Maggie?
Good.
Good. I teach in Southern Michigan, and I teach choir, so I have the privilege of having my students 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I love it.
Michigan, awesome. And what autoimmune struggles did you struggle with when you were in our program?
I have the markers for RA, so I've been treated for that for a long time, and fibromyalgia. I had there's so many things that were going on, but what was my greatest one that I found out by accident and that you guys helped me a lot with was my vocal cord dysfunction, and which
awesome.
Is absolutely horrifically awful for a vocal teacher, and I hadn't been able to sing for a long time, and because of the program, and I was able to identify that I can sing again. And,
like Julie Andrews!
That was really wonderful, and finding out many things about my food intolerances and other things like that, I've been able to take my joint pains down significantly. I would say probably 75–80%, which was just huge. Before I'd cry trying to climb stairs, and now I can go up and down the stairs and things. So it's been pretty amazing.
I can't wait to tell everybody what you're doing with your hands during this crisis to help other people and healthcare workers. We'll be getting right to that. Okay, and then Kim, let's have you introduce yourself.
I'm Kim Larkin. I'm an instructional coach now, but I left the classroom just last year after nearly 30 years. So I was a 3rd grade teacher, but now I'm at a school site and I support teachers with curriculum and testing and some of the state mandates for budgeting and that sort of thing.
And for you, what was your biggest struggle with autoimmunity, and what was your biggest win?
Well, my primary diagnosis was systemic lupus, and then we all know that autoimmune disease is an extrovert by nature, so it collects friends. And
I've never had you insult being an extrovert like that.
So I collected fibromyalgia, Sjogren's syndrome, and then I'm undiagnosed, but I have thyroid issues, so probably some Hashimoto's in there.
Yeah.
And just joint pain was horrible. I was on methotrexate weekly for joint pain. My rheumatologist called my lupus, he called it rupus, because of the joint pain that I had. But I'm off the methotrexate. I don't have joint pain unless I go off the gluten wagon, and I do it to myself. But, I'm not on meds for fibromyalgia. I can control a lot of that fibromyalgia, restless leg pain with natural remedies. My biggest win was being able to tramp around Europe last summer for 3 weeks. And also just to do my job with mental clarity. Yep.
I mean, you're saying that the last year you were teaching, your kids no longer knew the L word anymore because you didn't have to make an excuse for not remembering their name or projects or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so tonight actually we're talking Immune Table Talk, which is I'm curious, just like the rest of our audience, as to what the heck is going on with teachers right now, because teachers are expected, and many schools have started with online education in the last week or two post spring break, and I'm curious, just like everybody else, how the heck it's going. Because I know with I have a teenager, one in high school, one in college, what a mad scramble it is. And it's been at least a month they've been out of school. And so I want to find out from a teacher's perspective from the two of you, which is how much support would you say or experience are you feeling like is happening in the school districts to actually train teachers on how to deliver education online?
Well, we already are one-to-one with Chromebooks in our school district. I work for one of the largest school districts in the state of California, and we have over 30,000 students, pre-K through 8, and we have probably 1,700 teachers. So in order to sort of rally all of those troops to deliver online education that has some consistency across the board is just in the amount of time that the districts were given. Is just it's untenable. So what happened was our district office has teachers who are permanently assigned there as curriculum specialists. So in the week and a half or two before we actually stopped in-person classes, they were working feverishly to make packets for 9 grade levels for 2 weeks of instruction through spring break, because we went out like 2.5 weeks before spring break. And so students were given those paper packets. They were duplicated by we have a large duplicating department in our district. And so they were duplicated in as much sanitary condition as, they could muster there. And passed out to students. In the week since we left, those same instructional specialists have been working more hours than they do during the year, creating the rest of the year paper packets, but also now creating a digital portal. But here's the thing, I work in an urban district, and most of our students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. So while they may have a smartphone, they don't have access to internet. And some of them don't have a device at home. So while our teachers know how to use, most of them could easily figure out Zoom. And while many of them are adept at Google Classroom, which can be used remotely, the students didn't necessarily have devices. And so the district, along with our high school district, which has about 40 to 45,000 students in the high school district here, they have equipped school buses with solar panels and wireless routers.
Wow.
And so starting tomorrow, because today is the last day of spring break, starting tomorrow, every school's parking lot will have a school bus staged at their parking lot from 8 to 3, as well as random streets throughout the district, because the signal might not be strong enough to get to all the homes, so that the students and the families could check out a family could check out one Chromebook, and they distributed almost 1,000 of them. So they could check out a Chromebook and have access to the internet from like 8 to 3, Monday through Friday.
And even, and they could come in a car and get near the school buses to actually have Wi-Fi.
They could do that, or hopefully, because they're staging them at the school parking lots, we're neighborhood schools, and then also at different streets around the enrollment area, hopefully from their homes.
So access, as you're working from the point of view as trying to increase as much access to the internet as possible for socially disadvantaged. So it's you're trying to equalize the access.
Yes, exactly. And so the high school district has also, we have lots of small outlying districts, but the high school district encompasses most of the area here, except for a couple of outlying towns. And then the district I work for probably covers about 60% to 70% of the city. And so the two have worked together in terms of being able to provide nutrition, because the other thing, in order for schools to get all their funding in California, was to provide nutrition, because many of our students get 2 meals a day. We feed every child in our district free breakfast and lunch every day. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we now have to find a way to feed all of those students 2 meals a day. So every day our nutrition staff is working to provide a bagged lunch and a bagged breakfast for the next day for students.
And what I'm hearing is also that from other school districts is that, like in New York and it's Connecticut, some of the East Coast states, some of the schools are responsible for providing childcare as well for first responders. So there's a lot of these additional tasks that are put on school districts besides teaching. And I want to ask Barb's perspective, which is as a teacher, you teach choir. And my question for you is, how do you feel as a teacher on the receiving end of this? What kind of preparation, resources, and training is your district providing you?
Well, we didn't have any warning. We were told one day and we were gone the next. We were told to quickly get out of our rooms. We couldn't come back. I've been in the building one time. So we went into a few weeks where everybody was kind of scratching their heads because we've never had this before. We're a brick and mortar school, not an online school. So our administration was working hard trying to figure out what the state would allow and what we could actually do. So we just got finished spring break last week, and today we met as a staff. And same thing, we have Chromebooks. We're getting out to the families that need it. We are in a very low income area as well, so we have a lot of kids who need the help that get meals as well. And but there are a lot of kids that have that access to the internet, and if they don't, we're trying to help them. And so, like, we're working at setting up Zoom meetings, which thankfully, because of your program, Zoom is like amazing. And I've been
you know how to work it, girl.
That's right. And I've been asking the school district for like 3 weeks, can I Zoom with my kids? And I had to wait for, basically permission because they needed to figure out what the state would allow.
Got it.
So.
We actually are no longer allowed to use Zoom. Well, our teachers are not required to do any instruction, but a lot of them, want to communicate with their kids, but we're not allowed to anymore because of the security breaches that we had. So
we've been cautioned. We've been cautioned, and so hopefully, because we're not California, we won't be the hotbed of craziness. I'll let you know if it does happen. It happens. We're in the Midwest. We're like, not of all that. I think all the hackers must be more out there or something.
So I have a question for both of you. Or one of you could answer it, which is, what do you think has been the biggest surprise? I guess a happy surprise of the schools and our ability to, what were you pleasantly surprised by through this pandemic with education to the kids?
Well, for me, I have been pleasantly surprised at the emails that I get from my students.
Aww.
Hey, I really miss you. How are you doing today? I have one young lady, an 8th grader, and of course I've had her 3 years, and she is just heartbroken, sick that we couldn't do festival. We found out we couldn't do festival, and then like 2 days before we were gone from school, and then of course our spring concert is gone, and that's always really huge. And so she has emailed me almost every day and just sharing little things about our lives. And I think it's really important for teachers to remember the impact that we have. I mean, when you're in the daily grind, you sometimes forget that I am touching a life and I'm impacting a life.
Yeah.
And so I think I really have just enjoyed hearing from the students, and I'll get little messages even from parents. Hey, I just want you to know we were talking about you, and I just wanted you to know how much my child really misses you.
You want to hear something amazing, Barb? You know me, and my daughter loves to sing, and I love music. And my daughter said to me, one of the biggest things she misses about school, because she was in the musical and choir, she was like, Mom, I miss singing every single day. Yeah. And a lot of times, like when she's at her dad's, she doesn't want to be singing at her dad's house with other people around and stuff. So she's like, so she has to go into her car to sing by herself. And so she's like, Mom, I really miss singing every day. It sounds like it's a simple thing, but that was her life. That's the biggest joy that she has.
Yeah. I received an email today from an 8th grade boy who said, hey, I really miss you. I just wanted you to know. And I think teachers just need to realize that sometimes it's more about it's more than teaching the subject. You have to teach the child, that student, right where they're at. And right now where they're at is fear, uncertainty, confusion. confusion is huge. So just meeting that, I think that's been a real surprise that they've missed us. And for some of them, we are their comfort. I mean, I have students that come in every day who want that hug, and I know teachers are supposed to be really careful and everything like that. It's another good day to be in the Midwest. But they just come in for that encouragement and that positive word. And so I think it's been the pleasant surprise, and I've missed my students a lot.
Yeah. What do you guys think is something creative, something really creative that either you did or you witnessed one of their colleagues did to really be able to reach their kids or touch their kids or teach their kids at this time? What's a creative way that you've seen? Some things that teachers have done.
Well, for me, I'll jump in real quick, is I watch those live performances through Zoom. And I am super excited now that I have permission. I'm super excited to get my kids on. And J.W. Pepper, who does music, gave us permission to use any of our music that we purchased over the last 3 years online. So I have my music I can get out to my kids, and I'm going to work on just singing with them. And then I hope that I can record a song with all my classes. That's
fun.
That's cool. Yeah. So I'm super excited to try it.
Yeah. What do you think, Kim? What have you seen? Working with all your teachers that you're coaching, what have you seen? What's something super creative?
Well, I think a lot of the teachers are doing the same thing you're seeing across the country. We drove through our enrollment area, honking horns and waving kids. And the unexpected thing there was we expected to encourage our kids and, tell our kids to be brave, because that's what we do as teachers. That's our job. That's our hope. We want to take care of those kids. But the families had signs for us, and they told us to stay safe and told us to be strong and told us they missed us. So we went away feeling as encouraged and cared for as we wanted to make them feel. So that was an unexpected gift. I think that what I'm seeing teachers do is just be there for their kids, whether it's incredibly creative or not. I think they're just there for their kids in any way they can be, whether it's posting on apps that are designed specifically for the education environment, Dojo, Remind, things like that, or recording videos of them reading aloud, or providing all sorts of resources for parents, being available for parents to ask questions. Because I think parents, another unexpected blessing coming out of all of this is I think parents understand in a new way. They'll say they get what teachers do, but I think they understand in a new and deeper way what teachers do every day.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I want to ask something, which is, Barb mentioned this, which was, how being on an online medical program, which was out of the box years ago when I started it. I want to ask, how did that prepare your health or your online training for this challenge right now, being on an online health program?
For me, it's exciting. And I'm actually ready to go for it. And I know I've told you before, but my husband is an online school teacher. So I've been watching him for several years now, and kind of taking all of this in. So with me being brick and mortar, I'm not as afraid of it. I just want to get going, but it's like Kim was saying, you kind of have to wait for your school district to give you permission to move forward and to get it all done, because it is I think it's going to change education instrumentally for forever, and it's not necessarily negative. It's kind of like, talking with you as a doctor online and working in a community. Working in the community is what helped me heal. Brainstorming with other people, and so you can learn online and you can do some really positive things. So I think this is just stretching us as educators to works.
So that's a great point, because when people ask me what I do online, are you a doctor online? I'm like, I'm actually an educator online. I talk about it that way, whereas I'm using the online format to actually teach people in a community a lot about their health and something as complex as autoimmunity, right?
Yeah,
and for me, it's like, I almost feel like unless our hands are pushed to do it online, people resist it and think the one-on-one or in-person is better. And for some things it is, for some things it isn't. And right now we're dealing with an impossibility with an education, right? But you guys have been uniquely been able to experience having had this program online with me. And so it is online education. I always said before that education is the missing holy grail in medical care. Right. And I think now people are starting to understand education, online education period, is the holy grail in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Education is just huge. And I know in education, we always talk about being lifelong learners. I remember when I was talking with Elsa before I started the program, I told her, I said, I'm a lifelong learner. I want to learn. I want to know. I want to absorb as much as I can. And probably within the first 4 or 5 days, you guys were saying, okay, Barb, I know you want to learn, but slow down. It's like you just want to take it all in. You know, you're
that module.
Yeah, right. That's right. I think that as
you're gonna have kids like that. You're gonna have kids like that too, where they're very impatient.
Oh yeah, I want now. Yeah.
And there's a process, like just like in real life one-on-one education or one-to-group education on the online platform, there's pacing. Because learning isn't just about taking in the information, it's about implementation.
Right. That's what I had to learn. And it was actually really good because sometimes I went through our modules 2 or 3 times before I got to, and by the time you do it, I mean, when you'd say, hey, does anybody know the answer? I'd be, popping the button. I know. And it's
She's the gunner in the front, Kim. Well, okay, you two, thank you so much for just this immune table talk and just to be able to get a back behind the scenes perspective. Kim, you had something to add. Final thought.
I just wanted to share something. I read something online the other day from a teacher, and it really was true. As much as parents are mourning losing graduation and kids are mourning the things they're losing, teachers are mourning as well. Because
I cried.
Yeah. Well, we had like you. We were told one day we were going to have kids leave and then 3 days to clean up our classrooms. And then we were told in the middle of that day, no, the kids leave and you leave 45 minutes later.
Whoa.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't get to say goodbye to 8th graders that I've had for 3 years. In elementary school, you spend the first half of the year setting procedures and getting to know your kids, and there's some teachers who think you can't smile till December, and it's all setting procedures and figuring everybody out. But you hit a sweet spot in like February or March where the kids get your humor, you get theirs, you communicate with a look. You guys are one unit pushing toward the end of the year. You just gel. You're a family. You have a relationship built, and that's the sweet spot.
And then boom.
Teachers don't get that this year with this whole class of kids.
Yep.
So, they don't get to say goodbye. There's a whole catharsis because you're with kids 180 days. I mean, you get to know these kids and care about them. Yeah. And the other thing is, the sad reality is that child abuse goes up when kids are home.
I am absolutely hearing this.
And we finish school on a Tuesday. Wednesday morning, at about 8:30, we had already lost a child to child abuse from the school I left last year. And if we had had school, that girl would be alive. So I don't know what you say to that. They had to make the call they made. But these are the things that teachers deal with. We know that our kids are at risk. And if they were in school, some of them would not be suffering what they're suffering.
Yeah, it's one of my greatest fears for some of my students. And it breaks my heart. There's nothing I can do.
Right.
So
those are some of the hurt, the deep hurts that teachers carry that people don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're right. And because I have a personal friend who's a police officer dealing with a child abuse unit. And his, the calls for him has been off the hook. I mean, he is ragged because, I mean, you're talking double, triple the number of calls.
Yeah.
In that, thinking about this, you know, it's hard to think that there is, it's a final thought question, which is, at the end of all of this, what do you think is a lesson that you think you would like humanity collectively to have learned from this? What do you think is the one lesson you wish you would learn from this, or humanity as a whole would learn from this at the end of this?
For me, Maggie, I came home and I could not do nothing. So I had to put myself in a position where I was still helping humanity. And I might not have been able to do it every day in the classroom, but I decided I needed to do something more. So I took that on. And I think instead of people sitting home and, you know, feeling sorry for themselves or being upset about our situation, they need to look around and say, what can I do to make my world just a little bit better? And for me, that's been a huge undertaking, and I have loved reaching out in a new way.
Barb has been making masks for medical professionals that have been designed by her and a respiratory therapist, and for people to be able to even fit their medical mask inside it. I mean, thank you. You've helped so many alumni out and healthcare providers out, and I know you just had a call for 100 over the weekend. You're with your with your hands and joints. You are making, what you're saying is, do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do something.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Do
is,
something.
do something. Forward motion is important. Progress is important.
Well, and we are responsible for and to each other. I think that we in America are very individualistic, and we forget that every choice I make affects somebody else, positively or negatively. And so I have a responsibility. Am I going stir crazy in my house? Yes. But if I choose to go out frivolously, I could be putting someone at risk. We had a house party here Friday night in Bakersfield.
Yeah, I heard about this.
400 people. And the highest demographic of people infected here in Kern County are 18 to 49-year-olds. Because
guess who was at the party?
That's exactly it. So we need to realize that we're responsible for and to each other, I think, in a deeper way than we do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Barbara, for joining me for our Immune Table Talk tonight. Really appreciate it. This is the inside look from how teachers are doing.
Bye.
It's been an absolutely amazing journey. If anybody would have ever told me that what was going on, my voice was autoimmune, I would have never known. It's just been, it's been the greatest joy, and I cry about it. I'll sing. Jim and I will sing, and I'll just go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just sang that. I haven't been able to do that forever.
Well,
and so it's cool.
It's those things that God has given us back.
That's right.
That we mourned.
Yeah.
Hard
to let go of, and that He's given us back.
Yeah. And you know what was really precious throughout this school year is, you know, oftentimes I would tell kids and I would give them little samples and my voice would quit. And I'd say, I'm so sorry, you know, and this year I'd be singing with them and they would just stop and they go, dang, Miss King, that's like really loud. Or Miss Sharon. And then we were doing the high school musical, and I hadn't been working with those kids for sometimes up to 4 years. And I was singing along with them, and they were just staring at me. And they were like, when did you start singing? And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. There's this really cool thing. And I found out I shouldn't have dairy, and I found out I shouldn't. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's real. I'm shocked. I didn't know you could sing.
Thanks, everybody. That was a interview with alumni Barbara and Kim. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. To learn more, if you want to learn more about our program, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, you can join our Facebook group by the same name, or you can go to drmaggieyu.com. Thanks for joining us.
lupus, lung fibrosis,
Hashimoto's thyroiditis,
Fibromyalgia,
AS, which is a form of arthritis.
Epstein-Barr, extremely fatigued.
pretty much zero joint pain.
Much more happy.
I don't have brain fog anymore. How much weight I have lost.
I want to see remission.
Maggie and her approach is very different than the traditional doctor.
I'm a totally different person.
I got a better understanding of what those intolerances were.
You're not alone.
The community is, I'm learning from everyone else's issues.
It's not just helped me, it's helped my entire family.
We are transformed.
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 Join the movement and transform your autoimmune naturally today.